welcome. All right, let's get started. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Kabbalah Café. I want to begin by dedicating this class to the loving memory of a very, very dear friend and someone who came to many of the classes, both virtually as well as in person, and she used to come to this class as well. Ray Bellman, who passed away yesterday, passed away over Shabbos. And she was, again, just a very dear friend and someone who personally, like, no matter how bad my jokes were, she laughed. But not to make this about me, but she was an incredible person. And may her neshama have all of the blessings and comfort and be bound b'tzrar achayim in the bond of life with Hashem, with God Almighty. The funeral is set for tomorrow at 2 p.m. And definitely thinking about her this morning and dedicating the class to her and to her neshama. So let us begin with today's session. So as I wrote in the email, we're going to focus on food, which is apropos because we have food over here. There's also food in the other space where there's coffee, by the way. If you want coffee, are you into this? All right. So we I think Jews and food is always a magical combination. Really, anybody in food is a magical combination. Hey guys, the coffee was successful. The coffee tour. That's it. Oh, you got with the covers on it to go. Very impressive. This is very fancy. Very fancy. So we're talking about Jews and food, which is, I feel like, an apropos topic. I know, right? I have a longstanding policy that I try to keep, which is never get in between Jews and food. You know what I feel like sometimes in the shul, the president gets up and makes the announcement after services, before the kiddush, before the luncheon, the president gets up and makes some announcements. And I'm thinking, I don't know about that. If I were designing things, this is my personal opinion, let the president speak before the rabbi's sermon, right? Let the presidents make a few announcements, then you have the sermon and services close out. Because honestly, the longer the announcements go between the service and food, the more angry the congregation gets. Not intentionally, not because anyone's a bad person, just because who wants to be the one blockading between Jews and food? It's not. Are you with? You agree with me?
I'm not sure.
All right, Toba's not sure. Oh, Dad, do you agree with me?
Jimmy, because Jimmy made a stand-up comedy.
Jimmy Barron.
Enjoyed the show.
Jimmy Barron, former DJ for 99X, sorry, morning show 99X. Jimmy Barron, the Baron of Sandy Springs, also right, the real estate and everything. So Jimmy Barron can get up there and he can do 5 minutes of comedy, and everybody will be there. But it's announcements. We're looking for volunteers for the choir. I don't know. Honestly, what looks better is the kiddush than me raising my hand now for the choir. So I'm just saying, it's one of those things where you don't necessarily want to get in the way of food. So today we're going to explore the association, the mystical association with Jews and food, but really with humanity and food. And why is it, as I wrote in the email, why is it that human beings need to eat? And we know the reason we need to eat is because, well, we need to live. It's like asking, why do cars need fuel? And Elon Musk has entered the chat. They don't. No, but like, why do cars need fuel, or why do cars need electricity? Why do cars need energy? Everything needs energy to live. However, the question in Kabbalah is predicated on the notion that typically, though in the structure of, I don't know, existence, the thing on the bottom needs the thing on top. I don't mean physically bottom and top. I mean, the thing on the lower rung needs the thing on the higher rung. That's typically the way it works, right? All right, people are escaping with breakfast even. Right, so the lower rung needs the higher rung, not the other way around. The higher rung needs the lower one. Since when? That doesn't make any sense. You with me on this? Typically, the lower rung needs the higher rung, not the other way around. It's like the people need the king, not the king needs the, although the king needs the people, because without the people, what's a king? Ein melech b'lo am. There's no king without a people. If you're a king without a people, I don't know. It's very lonely. It's very lonely at the top because there ain't no bottom either, right? If you're a king, a melech, without an am, without a people, I don't know what kind of king you are. But in general, in that relationship, yes, on some level, the king needs the people, but the people need the king more than the king needs the people, you would think. So why is it that human beings need mineral, vegetable, animal? I remember I once in yeshiva, one of the guys there was a vegetarian, and it was interesting. His line was, he used to say this all the time to me. He's like, I eat what the cow eats. I bypass the cow, right? He's like, I eat what the cow eats. Anyway, so the point is that humans eat, many humans, some humans eat animals. Humans eat vegetation. Humans eat minerals. No, I'm not suggesting that people eat rocks, but in the taxonomy of existence, we know that domem, the lowest, the mineral life, also includes water. Right? Water doesn't grow. Water is not vegetation. It helps vegetation grow, but we need water to survive. We need minerals. We do. There are minerals and stuff, right? Salt, for one, and other minerals, which I'm sure we're consuming on some level. Anyway, the point is that humans need these different rungs of reality. And the question is why? Fundamentally, the question is why. All right, we're going to get into that soon. But I want to because, I always like to present what I consider and what hopefully to you is also kind of an interesting topic or an interesting angle. And then obviously we connect it with the text that we're doing. The text that we're exploring and really the tension that we're trying to grapple with is, and moving away from food for a second, is what was the deal with the blessing that Isaac wanted to give his older son, Esau, the twin that we consider to be the not so good twin. He was like, a bit of a wild guy, to say the least. He was a hunter. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? But he was, not only did he hunt animals, it says he used to hunt people. It says that he took life. He took women. He wasn't a nice guy. And so the question is, why did his father wish to give him the blessings? It doesn't make sense. So you could say he loved his food, right? Before the blessing, what does he say? Get me food and I'll give you a blessing. Again, we can't escape the food connection. It's very interesting, right? So there's something about the food there. So again, we're going to tie in a few different themes. But one thing that we've explained already, and this we didn't have class last week, but a few weeks ago and a few weeks before that also, is the idea that that Isaac, the father, knows who and what his son Esau is. He knows who Esau is. He knows that he's not, behaving in the most kosher way, to say the very least. He knows that, there's a lot to be desired with his behavior. He knows that. But he also believes, and as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I think this is actually a lesson and an imperative for any parent. He also believes that his child can turn it around. Because if a parent doesn't believe in a child, who else is going to believe in you, right? And I'm not saying this for anyone here in the room. I'm just saying the general you. If your parents don't believe in you, who's going to believe in you? You have to believe in yourself, sure, but it's really hard if your parents don't believe in you. It's much more helpful, huh? Your bubby. That is a good answer. I agree with that. I would put that in the same category as mishpacha's family. All right, so your parents, your bubby, right? So you need someone to believe in you. And for Esau, right? Yitzchak, Isaac believed in him. He believed in his son, even though his son wasn't, acting in the way that I'm sure that he wanted him to act, etc. Nonetheless, he believed him. He never gave up on him, and he wanted to give him the blessings. And Kabbalistically, he wanted to give him, the greatest energy and the greatest light to kind of awaken the spark within him. Sometimes, you just want to shake it, but in a light-filled way, like shake the potential out of him. So it's like, how do we do this? What can we give you? What can we, how can we, inspire you to be inspired and to find, the depth inside yourself. That's what he was trying to do. And as we explained, again, 2 weeks ago, at the end of the session, his wife, Isaac's wife, Rebecca, also believed that her son had potential, but at the same time believed that it's not going to work by just giving him more light, more blessings, more energy. it's going to have to come through another path. It's going to have to come through the brother, through Jacob, getting the blessing, and then passing it laterally, not top down. Sometimes, you may have noticed this, sometimes children, even when they're adults, will listen more to their peers than to their parents. You ever notice that? Sometimes kids will listen more to, I know, I'm saying something that's shocking. We've never heard this before. No, but sometimes it's the truth. Sometimes a parent has a certain amount of currency with their kids, but at some point, maybe the kid is tuning out the parent, and it's helpful to have a peer. And in this case, it's helpful to have a brother who's got your back. And so Rebecca believed that the best way to get through to Esav is by redirecting the blessings, sending the blessings to Jacob, the younger twin, who will then slowly inspire his twin brother toward the path of goodness. That was the plan. The question that remains, so it makes sense. The father wanted to go directly. He thought he could save his kid. And the mother said, it's not, dear, honey, hubby, I love you, but it's not going to work like that. You can't save the day. He's going to have to discover on his own through the help of his brother. It's going to be a slower process. You're not going to be able to solve it. Do men try to solve things? I think we can say that, right? Men try to, as a man, right? Not all men, hashtag not all men, right? Whatever. But sometimes men try to solve things. Be like, okay, so someone's sharing a problem. It's like, oh, this is what you need to do. It's like, nope, was not looking for a solution. Just looking to talk about it, right? Sometimes it happens, right? Different ways of thinking. Again, not all men, you can't divide things by gender strictly. Nonetheless, there is this notion of trying to fix things. In fact, masculine and feminine energy, and I should make a quick disclaimer here. Kabbalah teaches that both men and women have masculine and feminine energy, Za and Malchus, without getting into without pulling out my famous Sefirot chart, which is famous in these here circles. You have the 6 midot, Chesed, Gevurah, Teferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. That's considered to be the masculine energies. Malchut is considered to be the feminine energy. And so we all have these energies inside of us. Everyone has masculine and feminine. That being said, the masculine operates kind of top down. When I say top down, it means let's fix it. Let's superimpose a fix on the problem. Whereas Malchut operates, the feminine energy operates with let's figure out on the ground how to fix things on the ground, how to cultivate. So it's kind of like, imagine you walk into a place and you're like, oh, I don't like the way it looks. We're just gonna bring something in. We're gonna dump something on top of this to make it look better. That's one approach. Another approach is to say, let's use what we have and make this shine, make this beautiful. Like a real artist. I don't know what a real artist is, but I don't know. Some artists, some amazing artists that I've met, and I've shared this before, can look at, and we have even some on our class here, and maybe right here in this room as well, can look at things that I'll just use myself, that I would not see as art or beauty, and they will say, "Look, let me show you how beautiful this is." Right? Let me show you. Right? I'm an artist. I will show you the beauty in this thing that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. The beauty, and I will unpack the beauty. That is mamata lamayla. That's from below to above. That's opening up the beauty that's inherent in the thing. Not saying this has no beauty. We need to drop beauty on top of it. Two different approaches. The masculine approach is to say, this is broken. Let's apply a fix. The feminine approach, and again, men and women both can leverage these approaches, but the feminine approach, the Malchut approach, is to say, let's discover the beauty here. And it's if you want to know where this construct comes up, 6 days a week, 6 work days, and Shabbat. What happens? 6 days, says the Torah in the 10 Commandments. 6 days a week you shall work. And on the 7th day, you shall rest. First of all, I have a question. Question number 1 is, why is the commandment telling me first and foremost to work 6 days a week? If the point is to rest, just say on the 7th day, rest. Why does it? Oh, you're saying that's a preamble. A preamble almost makes it sound like that's part of the commandment. 6 days you shall work. 6 days, is that also a commandment? Or is that just saying a narrative and then getting to the commandment? You with me on this? It seems a little bit misleading. So the Kabbalists say, no. It's actually a message about the difference between Shabbat and the rest of the week. The rest of the week, you have to work. Meaning the rest of the week, the perspective needs to be, the world is broken. We got to fix it, right? We got to do work to fix the world. Tikkun olam. We got tikkun olam. What does that mean? To repair the world. We got to fix it. It's broken. We got to fix it. Come Shabbat, no fixing. Why? Come Shabbat, and God says, you know what the energy of Shabbat is? You don't need to fix it. Discover the beauty that's already here. Can you discover the beauty? Can you appreciate the beauty that's already here in the world? You don't need to fix it. Shabbat, no fixing allowed. No tikkun, no birurim. That's why borer is asur on Shabbat. That's why you can't do borer on Shabbat. Borer means selecting the good from the bad. Borer is, it's one of the 39 categories of work, even though it doesn't sound like a lot of work. Imagine there is a fruit salad in front of you. All right, let's crowdsource this. Let's crowdsource the fruit salad. What's in our fruit salad? Go. Strawberries, apples, grapes, mango. Ooh, pineapple. And let's say you only like, help me out here, strawberries. So what are you doing? So you're going to be like this. So you're going to take the bowl when no one's looking. You're going to, no. Even when people are looking, you're going to take a fork and start pulling out the things that you don't like. No. We'll make it easier. We'll make it easier. You get a bowl from the fruit salad. You get a bowl of fruit of the mix. You only like strawberries. It's happened before. You get things that you don't like. So what do? You got another plate next to you. Boom, I know how to do this. All right, I've graduated kindergarten. Take a fork. You pull out grapes. You pull out the pineapple. You pull out the mango. I feel like I'm missing something. Did I miss something? What else are we pulling out? All right. Huh? The apples. Thank you. The apples. And you're left with strawberries. Baruch Hashem. Thank God you're good. Well, guess what just happened? You might have violated Shabbos. Why? And you're thinking like, what? That was work? It's one of the categories of work. It's called borer. Borer means selecting. Well, no, this was not, don't worry. It may have sounded like it. This is not a fire room. So we're having a conversation. So like, the point is that taking out the bad from the good, it's a no on Shabbat. Why? What's the problem? It's called borer. Borer means you're selecting. You're picking and choosing. You can't pick and choose on Shabbat. Now you're thinking, Gewalt, I have to eat the mango? I don't like the mango. I'm allergic to the mango. Gives me a scratchy throat. It kind of does sometimes, personally, right? I don't want the mango. Pineapple. It comes with spikes on it. Anything with spikes, I stay away from. Apples. Are you kidding me? Too many varieties. I'm out. Grapes. What can we say about grapes? Grapes. Too squishy. Forget it. I'm out. So what am I supposed to do? So the answer is you can take the good from the bad, your good from your bad. In other words, you can take a fork or your hand and grab a strawberry and eat it. You just can't start.
Oh, good.
What am I doing with my hands? Am I swimming? What is this? The separating stroke, the borer stroke? What is this? You just can't start organizing. You can't be like, oh, bad, good, whatever. You can't do that. But you can take out the good thing. Why am I saying all this? The truth is, I don't know. No, I'm kidding. I know. Here's why I'm saying this. I'm saying because on a deeper level, that borer is also forbidden on Shabbat. What is borer in the world? It means, oh, this is not good. This is good. We do this all the time, right? Oh, this is not good. This is good. I like this. I don't like this, right? We're always selecting. We're always picking and choosing. On Shabbat, we are invited to view God's world as all good, as all amazing, as beautiful. Doesn't mean that we go and do anything and everything on Shabbat. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is we view the world fundamentally differently. We view it as God's world, as God's beautiful world, as something that has the beauty inside. It's about cultivating and nurturing the inner beauty to come out, as opposed to saying, oh, this is not beautiful, but if we apply this, it'll be beautiful. That's a top-down approach. Again, that's the masculine approach. The feminine approach is to say, let's bring out, let's open up, let's uncover the inherent beauty inside. That is the energy of Shabbat. It's a fundamentally different energy than the rest of the week. So 6 days a week we work. What is work? Avodah. What is the work? L'takein, to fix. We're fixing things and applying fixes from top down. On Shabbat, no, Shabbat is different. Shabbat, we don't work. Shabbat, it's about appreciating the beauty of what is. It's not saying that if we only added, another thing, it would be beautiful. We put in another swing set, this park would be great. No, appreciate the beauty. Appreciate the beauty of the flowers that are here. You need another swing set. Appreciate the beauty of what's here. Make sense? Good. So, getting back to the story. Isaac, the father, says, look, Esau is headed down. He's on a negative path. We need to fix it top down. If I only gave him enough light, energy, blessing, tal, right, dew from heaven, spiritual dew from heaven, if we hit him hard enough with this blessing, it'll change him. And his wife says, maybe you can't fix this. Maybe he needs to fix it on his own. And maybe the only way is going to be if there's someone walking alongside him, kind of helping, direct him gently from the bottom up, right? This is the mother's approach, right? Somebody working with him on his terms. And it's not going to be an instant fix, right? The masculine approach is instant fixes. Let's fix it. Poof, fixed. The feminine approach is let's cultivate. Cultivation takes more time. It's easier to apply a fix, from external than to actually open up the potential inside. Yeah.
Why would Rebecca think that if those kids, they weren't kids when they were getting the lesson, they were older.
Yeah.
And yet, no sign of that happening has been around. Esau was doing his thing, Jacob was doing his thing. They weren't best of friends based on what we...
So who are you asking, on the father or the mother?
The mother. Like, why did she think that if Jacob gets more blessing and becomes holier than he already is, based on his father giving him all this power, that it will trickle to his son and not just cause the adversary reaction of like, you know what, I didn't get nothing, I'm gonna kill and pillage and continue doing whatever. Like they were living together or in proximity and there was no influence.
Good.
By Jacob.
So it's an excellent question. I'm going to repeat it because probably the camera didn't pick it up. So that is asking, what gave her the thought, what made her believe that, what made Rebecca believe that, that this plan would work, that by giving the blessings to Jacob, that it would have an influence on Esau. I think the answer is slowly. Meaning it hadn't worked, but she thought the only chance here is just working alongside, slowly working, slowly influencing. Think about this. How many, there's at some point this year, we'll do a course about this. How American values have been shaped by Torah, by Jewish values, right? And so how many years did it take for certain values that we think of like as American values to come out, to manifest, to take hold from Torah? Torah is 3,300 years old. But even after 3,300 years ago, there was still human sacrificing going on, right? There are temples in I don't know, in South American countries where they used to throw people off the top of the temples as human sacrifices. So how long, the Torah talks about humankind being created in the divine image. How long has it taken humanity to get to the place where every human being is respected and valued and given the same rights? It's taken a long time. The question is, do we give up and say it's never going to happen? Or do we say we believe in those? He texted me 11:10.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Can you hold the crowd? That's the question. So lock the doors. I'm kidding. You may have to lock the doors. So the reason why I'm saying this is because we see in our own experience how, and again, just related to Jewish values having an influence on the larger, not on the Jewish world, but on the larger world, on systems of governance, on the idea of democracy, and the idea of human rights and unalienable human rights. Which, by the way, when the founding fathers wrote that, they didn't actually mean everybody, but it's now become actually everybody, right? I mean, think about it. It wasn't always that. How long has it taken? We're talking America is what, 250 years old? Torah is 3,300 and something years old. It's 3,000 years. So the question is, can you play the long game? Rebecca was like, this is going to be it's not going to be, it hasn't worked. So why does she think it's going to work? What she really thinks is that it's not going to be Jacob and Esau. It's going to be their descendants that ultimately might take thousands of years. And we're still not there yet. But slowly, the influence is going to happen. It's going to happen slowly. It's going to happen slowly. And we see it happening. I think we see it happening. I think today there is more good in the world and more awareness of what the meaning of good is than ever before in human history. No. I'll tell you.
A few years ago.
Yeah, maybe. But I still, yeah.
It's kind of flipping now.
Things are a little complicated. Okay, yeah, things are a little complicated. That's fair. That's fair.
But that point of view definitely explains why Isaac was like, I don't think it's going to work. I want to fix it now.
Correct. So I do think that it's natural and normal on the masculine approach to say, I don't have any time for this. We're going to fix it.
This is way too long.
It's a very I mean, I think I can relate to it, right? I think I can relate to it. It's not like such a crazy thing to say. This type of approach. I think it's, I don't have time. Like, let's go. We got to fix it. Let's go. Let's bring in the construction crew. We're just gonna, you ever see like, I'm sure you've seen in your work, right? You have this lot or this land or whatever it is, and it's like we bring in landscaping for a day, and the next thing you know, there's a whole garden. Like boom, we just plopped it in. That's what he wanted. He wanted to like just create a garden. Well, you know what happens? What happens is that not everybody, it doesn't work with everybody. And Rebecca believed that it wasn't going to work with their son, with Esau. It was going to take a slower approach, more methodical approach over time. By the way, this explains 20 years later. So as we know, the story goes. So Jacob does get the blessings. Esau finds out about it, and he's very upset. And he wants to kill him. So Jacob leaves town for 20 years, 2 decades. He leaves town, and he comes back. And as he's heading back, he wants to find out what's going on with his brother. And he's told that his brother is coming toward him because he already is coming also. And he's got 400 armed men with him. And eventually, no conflict breaks out. They hug and they kiss and they kind of reconcile in the moment. And Esav says the following words to his brother. Esav says to Yaakov, to Jacob, he says, why don't we go together? Why don't you come with me? Let's go live together. I'm forgetting the exact quote. I'm paraphrasing. Why don't we all go together? And Jacob said, the kids are young. The cattle are, slow. You go ahead. We'll get there. And that captures the approach. Jacob is not afraid to take the slow and steady approach. If we try to solve it, it's not going to be solved. And even Esau wants to solve. It sounds like he wants to solve it just like that. And Jacob says, brother, I know you. It's going to take, he doesn't say this clearly, but he said the underlying current is, it's going to take a little while. It's going to take some generations. And has it happened? I don't know. A little bit. It's a few steps forward, a few steps back. We're getting there. I think the world, by and large, is a more civilized place than it was 3,000 years ago. I think the Esavs, I think there's less wilde Esavs, less wild Esavs, today than there were, back in the day. But at the same time, we're not there. When we get there, we'll all know it. That's for sure. When the world achieves a place where there's a positive, godly influence on everybody and only goodness and kindness and peace, you won't need me to tell you that it's here. We'll all know it. Front page New York Times announcing Mashiach is here. etc.
It won't be in the Times.
It'll be everywhere. It'll be everywhere. We are not going to discriminate against any news things. It's literally going to be everywhere. Now, here's what we're going to do. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump inside, and we're going to jump inside this text, which is the end of chapter 1, before we get into chapter 2. So please double take and pass. Please take and pass. And I sent down way more copies than necessary, but nonetheless, we'll make it work. Okay. Oh, amazing. Okay, great. Now we're going to close out the current chapter and go straight into the new chapter. That's how we're going to roll. So let me get the file here up and running. Chapter 1. We literally have the last 2 pages coming up over here. Okay, I'll tell you where we're going to start. We're going to start from top of page 38. Now, we've read this already. We've read some of this, but I do want to get a running start. Okay, so top of 38, we're gonna go to the end of this chapter, and then we're gonna jump into the new one and talk about food to boot. All right, here we go. However, despite the intention of Isaac to blast his son with holy divine energy and to shake him up in a good way, however, his refinement, Esau's refinement, could never have taken place in this manner. For had he, Isaac, the father, elicited the supernal light to Esau, the son, it would have led to one of 2 results. Either it would have been completely assimilated within him, meaning it would have been lost within him. So it would be like more energy to enable negative behavior, or it would have nullified him, broken him, and he would have lost his individuality completely. So either it would have been wasted, or it would have been destructive. Either it would have been enabling more negativity, or it would have been just so overwhelming that Esau's individuality and reality would have been lost altogether, and that there's no point. That's not called refinement. That's called obliteration. In the brackets, the chitzonim, that means the negative energy, suckle divine energy from the level of the supernal makif, which is the highest of levels, as the first states, though you soar high like an eagle. This refers to the external aspect of the makif, where darkness is as light, and all receive from this transcendent level equally. This is why if Isaac had elicited the external aspect of makif upon Esau, it would have been dissolved within him, and it would have been dissolved within him. So if it's makif means it's like a higher level of divine energy that's not tailored to the specific measure of the recipient. In general, you have 2 types of divine energy. You have divine energy that kind of cuts itself down through tzimtzum after tzimtzum, through concealment after concealment, and contraction after contraction to fit inside the blade of grass, the energy of blade. And then you have a higher level of energy, which doesn't cut itself down to the size of the recipient. It just shines on its own level, shines at its own pace. It's like a teacher. Imagine a teacher, breaking down the lesson to the students versus the teacher just teaching on his or her own level, whether the students understand or not. So so makif is the level that's beyond cutting it down to size, which means that really the recipient is not taken into account. So if the energy bestowed upon Esau would have been from the external aspect of makif, of this transcendent energy, it would have just been lost within him. He would have taken it and run with it and continued in his bad ways. Second point, if Isaac, second to last line, if Isaac had elicited the inner aspect of makif, a level impossible for the sitrach, that means the negative side, to receive from page 40, please turn to page 40, heaven forbid, he would have lost his individuality entirely, and that is referring to Esau's individuality. As we find in the verse, an angel of God went forth and smote the Assyrian camp. Similarly, Esau's individuality would be lost entirely. He would have been obliterated by that divine energy. And if this were to happen, says the discourse, the holy nitzotzot in him, the sparks in him, would be lost as well. As the verse states, some are gathered without judgment. There are times when, to save the situation, the refinement of the nitzotzot must be temporarily delayed in order to destroy the opposition. To achieve this, The nitzotzah must also be disregarded, only to be later reemployed and elevated. The point of this is this plan of the father of Isaac, not the father of Isaac, the father of Esau, i.e. Isaac, his plan was not going to work. It was not going to work. It's a top-down plan. Either it would have just been more enabling or it would have been crushing. Either way, it would not have worked. Therefore, and here's the conclusion after the brackets, therefore it was impossible to refine Esau by revealing to him a supernal light. Instead, it was necessary to give the light of the dew of the heavens, that's the supernal blessing, to Jacob, the twin brother, since dew is what accomplished the refinement as mentioned above, as mentioned earlier. Jacob needed to be the one to accomplish this, since holiness can handle even the aforementioned supernal light. So the brother, Jacob, could have taken it and then slowly helped his brother through. Jacob, the refinement is slow and gradual, so that it may last, and the nitzotzot, the sparks, the potential will actually become refined. This is why it was necessary to give the blessings to Jacob. And now we ask the question that's still hanging over us. However, the use of deception in obtaining the blessings is yet to be explained. We've explained what Isaac was thinking. We explained what Rebekah was thinking. We explained why Isaac wanted to give the blessings to Esau directly, why it had to go to Jacob, and Rebekah knew that. But what we haven't explained is why Rebekah didn't communicate with her husband clearly and say, your plan is not going to work. Why does she go about this with a whole ruse, with all this deception? Why does she why does she conspire with her younger son, with the younger twin, Jacob, to dress up like his brother and take the blessings, pretend to be the brother? Why did it have to work in a way of deception?
Also, I never understood in all the other events, God intervenes or talks to Abraham and tells him, Isaac will be your, it's not going to be Ishmael, it's going to be Isaac.
Right.
Why no point another? Where is God in the picture? Like comes to Isaac and said, with Jacob you will have your continuation.
Right.
Problem solved. He
Right.
knows what to do.
I view it somewhat as God, eating some popcorn, being like, let's see how this works out. It almost seems like that, right? Right now, I don't mean that literally, but I mean like sometimes it's sometimes God doesn't intervene. I don't know that I have there's a hard and fast rule as to when God will intervene and when God will not intervene. I don't know that there's any, specific, measure of that, and how we know like when God is going to say directly, like, hey, give it up. And it seems like there was a reason for all this ambiguity where God is allowing this to happen. God is allowing, Isaac to think one way, Rebekah to think another way, and allowing the practical, the way it plays out to be in a way of deception. So the truth is, what you're asking, this is just another form of the same question, right? Why does Rebekah employ the means of deception? That's one question. Why does Jacob get the blessings by deception? Another question. Why does God allow the whole thing to happen with this deception and not clarity? I think it's all part of the same question. Why? And honestly, the question is the answer. We haven't explained it though. The answer therefore must be that in order for all this to happen, it's going to need to happen with deception. In other words, the long game that we're talking about, the influence that we're talking about, sometimes might happen with deception. I don't want to give too much away. I want to be a little deceptive here. Right? But it's going to happen through deception. You with me on this? Meaning the only way to influence is sometimes not showing up and being like, I'm going to influence you. Sometimes when you state your intention up front, the other one runs away. Sometimes you're going to have to dress up like the other guy. Sometimes you're going to have to dress up like the Esau to get close, and then as a friend, as an ally inside, from the inside, work. Sometimes the only means is deception to work from the inside out. You want to work from the outside in, you drop a spiritual bomb. You want to work from the inside. I mean, we've just seen this, right? You want to work from the inside out, which is way more effective. You have to infiltrate. How do you infiltrate? You got to dress like them. You got to infiltrate the high command.
Weren't there some commentators that thought?
Got to infiltrate the Iranians. You got to pretend. You got to get into the inner guard. Isn't that deceptive? Yeah. But how else are you going to do this? How else are you going to do this from the inside out as opposed from the outside in? The outside in is to say, I'm here to change you. You ready? No. Now what? I'm like you. I'll tell a story in a second. Yeah.
Some commentators have thought that Isaac really knew
That
that
that he was giving his blessing to. Yeah, there is as many things that we can come up with the story. Someone's written about it. And there's as many theories as you and I, as we around this table come up with 10 theories we can come up with. There's 100 different ones. Yeah, we're taking one angle. Yeah.
Like what you were saying regarding like the
Deception
masculine aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like super like, typical male, like to basically be like, oh, have you tried like hitting it with a hammer? Like,
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
he's like, I'm just gonna hit him with like the holiest hammer I know. It's like if it works. And then you can kind of see like where Rebecca comes in, because in that aspect, Isaac's like, well, I mean, either it's gonna completely destroy him or he's gonna get along with the program. But either way, like after I hit it with this, like it's gonna work.
Right.
And Rebecca's like, maybe there's a way for us
Put down the
to
hammer.
without like the hammer. Yeah.
I like that analogy. I'll share a story. There was once a prince. Sorry, there was once a king. A lot of ancient parables are about kings and princes because that's what was going on back then. So there was a king who had an only son who was the prince. The prince was an adolescent. And one day the prince decides that he is a rooster. He decides, you know this one. He decides that he's a rooster. Decides that he's a rooster. The rooster prince. And what does that mean? He decides he's a rooster. He no longer will eat food, human food. He no longer sits at the table. He sits under the table and squawks and pecks and only eats, I don't know what chickens eat. Seed, feed, whatever, like that. Little kernels of something is pecking at it. And the king says, my son's gone meshuggah. My son's gone crazy. I don't know what to do here. He thinks he's a chicken. He thinks he's a rooster. Now, what do you do? So they brought in experts, and they brought in psychologists, and they brought in, scary looking people to tell him, you're not a rooster, you're a prince, snap out of it, and nothing is working. Until one wise man says, I think I may be able to help. And what does the wise man do? I should have also mentioned, as roosters don't wear clothing. So the prince also was not wearing it. So the first thing that this wise man, this is a parable you should know. It's not from Rav Nachman of Breslov, the holy Rav Nachman. He tells this parable. So what does this wise man, what does this chacham do, this wise man? He takes off his clothes also. And he gets under the table and he begins squawking. Now he's got the attention of the prince, of the prince rooster, the rooster prince. And the rooster prince says, who are you? He says, I'm a rooster. Who are you? I'm also a rooster. Oh, got an ally. They're squawking and they're squawking together and they're pecking. And they're all in it together. Then there's two roosters. The prince is over the moon, so thrilled to have a fellow rooster. The wise man at some point turns to the prince and says, he doesn't turn to him. He says, I'm gonna get some I don't know if he tells him or I forget the details. He basically goes from under the table and he starts putting on clothes. So the prince says to him, what are you putting on clothes? We're roosters. He's like, we're roosters, but a rooster can also be comfortable. Why can't a rooster be comfortable? A rooster has to be uncomfortable. I'm cold. A rooster's more. I want a rooster with a little comfort wear. All right. Then the wise man rooster sits on a chair. So what do you rooster sit on chairs? Like, honestly, it's more comfortable for me, the rooster, to sit on a chair than to sit on the floor. Then he eats from the table. He says, what are you doing? We eat seed. He's like, honestly, this tastes better. And I should mention, every time the wise man rooster does this, the prince is also like, makes sense. Makes sense. I'll also, I'm a rooster. Roosters can wear clothes. Roosters can sit on chairs, and roosters can eat real food. And roosters don't have to squawk. They can also speak and communicate nicely. And so he got the rooster to act like a mensch. How? Sometimes by pretending to be a rooster. If you want to transform a rooster into a mensch, sometimes if you're the one doing it, you can't hit them over the head with mensch, with menschiness. They're going to go more into rooster mode. Sometimes you have to wear the garments of rooster, of Esav. You have to dress up like Esav to be able to transform the rooster into a mensch. That's how it works.
You can't beat him, join him.
No, that's giving up. That's giving up. If you can't beat him, join him means, all right, I'll be a rooster. This is, I know the way of transformation, and it works from the inside out. How do I get inside? I got to speak to him on his level. If he's squawking, I'll also squawk. If he's eating birdseed or whatever it is, I'll also eat birdseed. But I'm going to get to him from the inside out, not from the top down. Is that going to take longer than shouting at him? Yeah. But is shouting going to be effective? No. So the question is, what do you want? A hammer and a nail? Or do you want actual results?
This
Reverse
is really
psychology.
beautiful because if we take it that Esau in this lifetime was never going to work, right? Isaac still sort of in his own way got to see literally like what it would be like if Esau had come around, because he thought like, oh wow, like he's really come, and he's kind of like Jacob too. Wow, this is exactly what I'm
speaking like Jacob.
Exactly right.
Maybe it's working.
So
That's a good point. That's a very good point, actually. Yeah, he got to see. Yeah, he's for a moment there, until he realized he was duped. For a moment there, he's like, oh, maybe it is working. Maybe this whole experience is working. All right, does this make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't want to answer too early, but I feel like it worked today with the rooster example. By the way, one of the best parables ever in the history of Mashalim parables. I mean, that's a strong parable right there. Okay, let us jump in to the next chapter. Toba, please grab these. I know there's now a few copies. I would say take the old copies and maybe put them to the side so that they don't get all mixed in, because those we can retire. Thank you. Yeah, let's retire those and bring out the new. And bring out the new ones. There we go. And we're going to begin chapter. That might be backwards. When you get when you get your copy, just make sure that the orientation is that you see the number 2 for chapter 2. Some of them might be handed out upside down, so you see 4. We're not starting with chapter 4, and the staple should be on the top left, not on the top right. So just to clarify that. All right, you guys all ready? Let's begin chapter 2. All right, here we go. A Torah lifestyle. According to the simple explanation of the verses in Genesis, Isaac wished to bless Esau with the dew of the heavens and plentiful grain. Now, on a very simple level, we translated dew as being like the greatest blessings, the greatest light, the tal shel techiyah, the dew of the resurrection of the dead, the God's essential energy that brings the dead back to life. Okay, sure. But on a very simple level, what is dew? I don't know. It's kind of like rain. And plentiful grain, without any allegories, what does that mean? Food, like literal food. Isaac had a different blessing in store for Jacob. Now, how do we know this? Because when Esau comes around for his blessing, after his blessing having been taken, Jacob says, I don't have much left for you. And the blessing that he gives, meaning there was a blessing 1 and a blessing 2. The blessing 2 was supposed to be to Jacob. What's that blessing? It's very, very minimal. So this blessing, let's read it inside. This blessing is found at the end of the portion of the Torah portion, when Jacob was to depart to Padan Aram, in which Isaac says to him, may you be fruitful and multiply, and may the blessings of Abraham be given to you. Meaning that the blessing was really going to be, you should have a family, and you should carry on the legacy of Abraham. That was going to be the blessing. It wasn't going to be about grain and dew. Why would Jacob need physical blessings? It's not his space. Our sages said, to explain this, this is the way to acquire Torah. This is chapter 6 of Pirkei Avot. Kachi darka shel Torah. This is the way to acquire Torah. Eat bread with salt. Live, by the way, what does it mean to eat bread with salt? Not in addition to your steak. Not like, oh, I have a rack of ribs and bread with salt. Bread with salt means bread with salt. Live a life of deprivation and sleep upon the ground. You want Torah? It's going to require a little deprivation. It's a little bit of some austerity. Isaac wanted Jacob to live in the manner of one who studies Torah. He therefore thought to give the blessing of plentiful grain and wine to Esau. That right? Remember, Isaac wanted Jacob to remain without distraction. He didn't want him to be distracted by fancy cars and large houses and 4-course dinners. He didn't want it. He wanted him to have simple, the basics of life, to be able to focus on Torah. Therefore, I'm just repeating the sentence again, second sentence of that third paragraph of chapter 2. He therefore thought to give the blessing of plentiful grain and wine to Esau. Rebekah, however, wanted Jacob to receive the additional blessings of plentiful grain and wine as well. Why? Why is that? Why did Rebekah want Jacob, the Torah scholar, to also be blessed with material abundance? Why? Wouldn't that be a contradiction? So here we go. He explains. One who wishes to merit receiving the crown of Torah should not choose to pursue material matters, i.e. plentiful grain and wine. In general, every Jew, even one who does not study Torah as his primary occupation, should not put more effort into pursuing material success than what is necessary. Let's continue. Oh, 1 second. I have to... Hold on. I know we're right in the middle of a sentence, but I do need to open up a new file here for the online crew. Give me a second. I have to open up chapter 2 here. All right. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to start again from the bottom of that first page. In general, every Jew should not put more effort into pursuing material success than what is necessary for his livelihood. Nevertheless, it is a good thing when a person achieves material success effortlessly, or at least without overexerting himself. The extra material success can bring added spiritual light. That line, then, nevertheless, is powerful. Meaning, we don't want materialism to be a distraction from spirituality, but a little extra gelt can't hurt. That's the point. A little extra blessings of parnasah can enhance greatly. So if the pursuit of material success is pulling someone away from their spiritual efforts, a person says, I would love to pray to God, but I can't. I got to go to work. Or I'd love to study Torah. I'd love to, do the mitzvot, my Jewish obligations, but I can't. I gotta make more money. Then we say, let's think about priorities. Like you're only, what's the means and what's the end? Like don't put the means to supersede the ends to the point that you're totally forgetting about what the ikar, what the primary point of life is. But someone who's got their eye on the prize and recognizes what their purpose in life is, having material blessings is actually a good thing and can enhance the spiritual effort as well. And again, just quoting that last line on the top paragraph of 44, the extra material success can bring added spiritual light. And that sounds a little weird. How can material success bring added spiritual light? Well, he used the example of food, heavenly food. And this is what we started off today's session with. It is known that the mineral, vegetable, and animal realms, the three realms that are beneath the human realm, are rooted in the world of tohu, the world of chaos that precedes, more importantly, that's higher than the world of tikkun, where humans come from. Meaning, even though in the architecture or the taxonomy of the world as we inhabit it, there's mineral, vegetation, animal, and human. In the spiritual world, like a lake tree image, it's flipped the other way around. You know what I mean by a tree? Like take a picture of a lake or a painting, right? The tree goes this way and then goes this way. So the top of the tree looks at the bottom, right? The top of the branches are at the bottom of the reflection in the lake. That's how it is. So welcome to the lake. We're in the lake. So what looks at the bottom is really in the spiritual source, flip the opposite way, right? on this phone, which I may or may not recommend, there is a volume thing and a power button, a volume button and a power button. But guess what? When I close it, the order is reversed. Now it's the power button and the volume button. Do you know how annoying that is? Right? You never know what you're pressing. Right? So like if I ever hang up on you, you know why. I just tried to adjust the volume. But that being said, right? So what's on top here, when you flip it here, is now on bottom. So human, right? In our reality, human, animal, vegetable, mineral. In the spiritual realm, just flip the image. The lowest is the highest, etc. So where do the realms of mineral, vegetable, and animal come from? Tohu, the highest original spiritual worlds. Humans come from tikkun. We come from the world of repair. Let's continue. When a person elevates them, what's them? Mineral, vegetable, and animal. How does a person elevate them? I know I'm now delving into 5 words here. When a person elevates them, how? By eating properly, by eating with the right mindset. I eat a vegetable, right? And I have in mind, I eat a salad, and I have in mind that I'm eating to get the energy to be able to do the next good thing, to fulfill my purpose. And that elevates the food. When a person elevates them, mineral, vegetable, and animal realms, additional spiritual light from Tohu shines upon him. Meaning, when you go in to the salad and reconnect the salad with its purpose, which is to give you energy to serve God, you also are able to also pull from that Tohu level of energy into your life. By engaging with the Tohu stuff and helping it out, by reconnecting it with its purpose, you also get a cut of the profits. That's what it means. Additional spiritual light from Tohu shines upon him or her, the person that is facilitating that elevation. As the verse states in Deuteronomy, for not by bread alone will man live, but by all that issues forth from the mouth of God will man live. Although man on his own possesses that which issues forth from the mouth of God, we also have a soul. Nevertheless, that which issues forth from the mouth of God, that is in the food, the soul of the food is greater, for it is from Tohu. And specifically because of it will man live, as explained elsewhere, meaning what gives us the energy? It's the spark of the divine in the food. And the question is, the Kabbalah asked the question. One second. We need not just physical calories, we need the energy of the food to live. Why? Because the food has a soul. We also have a soul. Why does our soul need that soul? Doesn't make any sense. That soul should need ours. We're higher, they're lower. They should need us. Why do we need them? Doesn't make any sense. How does that make sense? How does it make sense that we need the soul, spark, energy of something on a lower level? Doesn't make sense unless you say that it's not a lower level at all. It's a higher level. And when we utilize the food for the proper purpose, and that's not only food, everything in life, money, possessions, etc. When we use it for the right purpose, what happens? We tap into the energy, to the soul, spark latent in that thing, and it gives us tremendous energy. Ox power. Let's continue. This is why the soul descends to be vested within a physical body and animal soul. Why else would the soul come down below to waste its time, seemingly, for 120 years? What's the point? The answer is to gain something that it couldn't have gotten in heaven. When one subjugates and nullifies the animal soul, the godly soul accumulates additional spiritual light. Every person knows that there are certain characteristics, such as anger and so on, which he needs to refine. When he coerces himself not to be angered, page 46, he adds light to his godly soul, enhancing both his intellectual grasp and his service of the heart. Look what he says here. If you work on anger issues, it's not only that you're making sure that your temperament stays in check, you're also adding light to your godly soul. My godly soul needs me to work on my anger issues. That's with my body. How's that going to help my soul? See, we think typically that what's the relationship between soul and body? The soul is helping the body stay in check. We're saying it works the other way around as well. When the soul helps the body, the energy of the body, that's a higher level energy, then goes back into the soul and elevates the soul to a level that it could not have achieved on its own. This is true all the more when he can subjugate this bad trait to the extent that it no longer excites him into opposing the godly will at all. By so doing, the godly soul accumulates much spiritual light. As is written, many crops are yielded by the power of the ox. All right, so that is where we are going to cut it today. That idea of Rav Tuvot B'Koach Shar, that is very powerful. That is the idea that who can plow a field better, a human or an ox, right? Imagine a human being schlepping a plow through a field. It's not going to work. But you take a few oxen and you put a yoke on them or whatever it is, and then you give them the plow, they can plow the field. Cars are measured in horsepower, not in human power. Animals are stronger than humans. That's the truth. Animals are more powerful than the most powerful human. Oh, we can create machines that could, sure. But physical strength, animals are way stronger than us. And what's the message? The message is that when we achieve the purpose in our interactions with the animal kingdom and other kingdoms, we can tap into that power and bring it over to the positive side. And it benefits us and our soul as well. And so as we close out today, I just want to kind of recap the big ideas. Number one, big idea number one is that, getting back to the story of Isaac and Esau and Jacob. Isaac wants to give the blessings to his older son. He feels like he can fix it by hitting him over the head with the blessings. His wife says, not going to happen. It's got to go to Jacob, and then Jacob's going to work slowly on his brother to modify the behavior. So that's the dispute. We don't understand why deception, although I alluded to the idea of deception, the value of deception sometimes to get in. You have to be an ally and not be opposition. You can't scream at the prince chicken, at the rooster prince to shake him out of that thing. Sometimes you just got to work. You got to work with him on his terms. That means that you also have to become a chicken to deal with the chicken. And then we talked about the idea that material blessings were not slated initially for Jacob. Isaac didn't want Jacob to be distracted by materialism. He wanted him to get the basics, to be able to focus on spiritual pursuits. But Rebekah knew, his wife knew, that the material blessings are also needed to Jacob, not in a way of distraction, but in a way of power, of granting him additional power, granting him additional strength in his service. Because when we utilize the physical world for its intended purpose, not only are we doing it a favor, we're doing ourselves a favor. We then become the recipients, the beneficiaries of that greater light, that greater force, the greater power. Rav Tavua B'Koach Shar, the greater, we can plow more, we can grow more crops with some animals. That's just the way it is. And so we then become the beneficiary of that. So what's the homework for this week? The homework for this week is to spend some time meditating, whether you close your eyes or not, but thinking about this, contemplating this idea, that the world around us is not our enemy. We shouldn't approach this with, this is wrong, this is broken, this is flawed. Let's break it or destroy it or fix it. Let's approach this week. Let's approach the world with the intentionality, with the intention that this world is a beautiful place, and our job is to cultivate and find the latent spiritual energy within it. And if we do that, not only will we find that energy, but the energy will empower us in ways that we cannot imagine. So find something. Don't try to fix it. Try to cultivate it. Bring out the goodness. It might be a relationship. It might be food. It might be your own, a personal temperament, like you mentioned, anger or whatever. It might be something inside. Try to work with that thing in a way of friendliness, in a way of compassion, and find the beauty inside of it. Make sense? All right. That's it for today. Great to see you all. A few quick announcements. Let's see what we have coming up this week. Announcement number one, as always, we have our 55 and over Taste and Torah Club tomorrow morning, 11:30. We have the parenting course tomorrow night, The Art of Parenting. That is Monday night at 8 p.m. Tuesday, we have the Torah class Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m., followed by the Yeshiva night learning right over there in that base medrash, the daily shul. And then Wednesday night, we have the final session of Boxing with the King. Thursday, Tanya with Rabbi Tzvi Freeman. and look out for more exciting things. We're planning an event, a 2-year October 7th memorial event. We're planning it Sunday, September 28th. So set your calendars for that. Sunday, September 28th in the morning. We're going to have at noon, a special event. And we also are working on a special speaker coming in, just setting the date for an incredible story. We'll leave it at that. Just an incredible story of life and blessings and miracles. All right. Questions, comments?
I'm confused about tohu because
Yes.
at first there was tohu, whatever, and we tried to get rid of that. So now we're saying how it's a higher power.
So tohu, we're not trying to get rid of tohu as much as tohu was, the energy was so big and so chaotic that it just like kind of exploded.
Yeah.
And the shards, it's almost like, imagine you drop a glass bowl and then you have like 1,000 pieces. It doesn't break into like 5 pieces. It breaks into like 1,000 pieces. And now and each piece is like really small. And it's like the shards of that broken tohu are embedded. It's almost like, can you imagine like points of light being like just falling, like creating meteors and craters in the earth, but in everything around us, there's a spark. In that beverage, in this beverage, in everything, the table, there's a spark from tohu in it. And when we utilize that thing for the correct purpose, we separate out the spark, the potential from the material shell around it, and we reconnect it with Hashem by achieving its purpose.
Still good.
Yeah, tohu is not bad. Tohu is just too much energy. So for example, if this tea is helping me, I don't know, stay hydrated, or my voice or whatever it is, in helping share Torah ideas, so great. So now this is serving a higher purpose. It's not just water and whatever and tea leaves. It's now serving a higher purpose. Now, who facilitates that? The human being does it. But the key thing that we said today is that when the human being does that, it's not only doing this a favor by connecting this with a higher purpose, but we also, because we're the facilitators, we also get some of that energy, some of that tohu energy, which is, he says, incredibly, why our soul comes down below. Because our soul was doing fine up in heaven, but our soul could never have interacted with that powerful energy if not coming down here, because this is the only place where that powerful energy is found. When it broke, it fell down here. It didn't remain in heaven. When tohu shattered, it came down to planet Earth all the way to the bottom. So it's only by the soul coming down here that it can encounter such amazing sights. Imagine like going to the Grand Canyon. It's like, wow, I didn't know this thing existed. We encounter tohu every time we encounter physical things and then utilize them for something higher.
They the tohu to the sparks.
Yeah.
And it's
the sparks are sparks from tohu, and our job is we are spark seekers.
okay.
All right, we're spark extractors. Tohu, yeah. So tohu is not bad.
Okay.
Tohu is misunderstood.
Okay,
Let's say tohu is just too big. All right.
It's a big thing.
But no, it's a good question. Thanks for asking that. Questions, comments? All right.
You can find this on, are the recordings on YouTube also?
Wow, they're theoretically on YouTube,
Oh.
but they're not actually currently. Why? The last few weeks have been a little bit hectic, and I have been lax in posting, but they will be on YouTube. My goal is this week to get current. You can find old ones. Our YouTube channel is the Torah Center ATL. Subscribe and like. I'm kidding. Whatever you want. But you can find old classes there. Again, current. We're going to try to get current this week, please, God. All right. Good to see you all.
Good to see
Dr.
you.
Maxey, Jessica, Frank, Clyde, Caroline, Jackie, Nate, and of course our in-person crew. Thank you all for joining. Shavua Tov. See you.